Welcome to the Blue Cafe. Today we have part 2 and final installment of the tale we know as I've Grown a Bit Nervous. Now, on to the story. Three-month progression update. Just before Christmas last year, a little over 2 months ago, I discovered that my wife had been cheating on me with an old boyfriend. They had planned for a romantic weekend together, which I ruined for them when I confronted her. My last post was this: TLDR Crazy drama has ended, still seeing my stepdaughter, made an unlikely friend in my soon-to-be ex's ex-son is soldiering on, and my ex-wife has kept this walking corpse from falling over. This will be long. So as an update, I've mostly gone no contact with my STB ex. I tried just communicating with her through my lawyer if we had a real reason to talk, but that made me feel like a child that was avoiding confrontation, even if that wasn't the case, and I decided to speak with her myself a few times. If you've been following the lengthy comment streams from my previous posts, you already know what was discussed, but I'll write everything here as if it's the first time I'm doing it. The STBX at first was all over the place with how she talked about Chris. One minute he was her soulmate and the one that got away, the next he was a predator that would not leave her alone. Our family and friends have all heard the truth by now, and most of them have taken my side on the matter. Given the details I provided in my lengthy FB post, there was little room to side with her anyhow. She's since moved into her parents' for the time being, and I remained in my home. It was acquired many years before I even met her, so that's not even an issue divorce-wise. Strangely enough, Chris, the AP, decided to write me this huge harangue of a letter. For what reason, God only knows. I got the impression from it that she must have dumped him in anger shortly after I gave her the boot, because it's laden with stuff like we were repairing our relationship when you stole her from me. I've loved her for X amount of years, so don't post stuff online about how I'm a cheat. It really made me see red, and I wanted to do the man some serious physical harm, but once again I saw reason. Life has been pretty lonely in this house since she and my stepdaughter moved. The stepdaughter's room is still empty, and I have to leave the door closed because seeing it empty always hurts me, and I can't bring myself to do anything with it yet. She has a father, and he's a good dad, and because of him I still see her once during the week. I take her for bike rides or we go grab something to eat together. I asked her once if she felt comfortable eating at my house, and the poor thing just started crying. She loves her grandparents but doesn't like living with them, so she's been spending more time with her father. Her old man has invited me over a couple times for a beer, and we had a few conversations about our mutual ex and Chris. I think I mentioned in the comments on my last post that he knew the entire time she was cheating on him. I see my son and my ex-wife a lot more now. One of my weekdays lines up with their schedule, so I'll stop in for dinner, and I've been keeping him an extra day for my weekends, and she will generally join us for dinner on Friday night. I've asked my son if he wants to talk about how he feels concerning my upcoming divorce, and he's not saying it so much, but he's hurting. The first couple of times he just got this far off stare and was like, I don't want to even think about her. And that he loved her and didn't expect her of all people to do this to him. And it really hit me when he said that. We always think about how someone's affair does to us, like it's an act of malice against us, but what she did to me, coming from him, hurt more than anything she could have ever done to me. I've discussed therapy with him and his mom, but he insists he's alright, and if he feels he can't handle it, he'll talk to us. He's a mature kid and I trust his judgment, usually pretty upfront with how he's doing. He and I actually for the first time in private discussed the divorce between his mother and I and the reasons behind it. I really didn't want to at first, as he is currently raging about adultery and he has a great relationship with his mom. But he was asking about it, so I opted for polite honesty. I told him his mother hurt me just as much, but what she did was just a very poor choice, and that I'm not upset about it anymore, but it took a while. Speaking of my ex-wife, she's had my back through much of this. She's pretty much the reason I started having dinner with them one night during the week and keeping my son longer, because she insists I'll do better to not be constantly alone in that house. A lot of people have suggested that she and I reunite. If I was to ever come to the decision, I would want to wait to be done with some therapy sessions, perhaps couples therapy if she was anywhere in this ballpark. We briefly discuss our own divorce and the infidelity that led to it. I've moved past it and don't feel too fazed by it anymore, but she talks about it like she just got caught. It's not the first time I've done so, but I told her that I forgive her for it. I even added this time that giving more consideration to how she described the encounter, it's likely she was preyed on by some creep because she had too much to drink. This wasn't a guy she knew very well and had only seen around her place of work a few times, as, if I'm remembering this right, either didn't work in her area or worked at a separate location. In either case, she has literally not seen him since like a few days after it happened. It's a little tough thinking about that too, because even though it doesn't bother me on a regular basis anymore, the fact of the matter is I was really loving my life up until she broke the bad news to me. The STBX kind of smoothed things over for me when that relationship started, but once again, right as I'm feeling my life is great and I'm happy, infidelity messes that up for me. Kind of makes me really unwilling to even consider another relationship if this is what all my time and effort leads to. All that said, I'm taking a trip to Disney World this July to try and wash my mind of all this. Originally it was supposed to be me, the ex-wife, and my son, but I've managed to talk the STBX into allowing my stepdaughter to come along so she won't feel excluded. She'll probably just use the time to bang her next unfortunate soul, but that's not my problem anymore. I feel sorry for your stepdaughter, the part when you said she started crying. It's a shame cheaters are so selfish they never consider everyone who is affected by their backstabbing actions. Does the ex still want to reconcile? My soon-to-be ex tried to ask for reconciliation and did so until I stopped answering my phone. My son's mother, she hasn't said she wants to if she does want to. I divorced my ex for what she did and I'm not simping for saying I might have been hasty with the divorce. People duck up, they're human. A guy gets into a heated argument, gets into a fight and accidentally kills someone. He's not anywhere close to as bad as a serial killer. I forgave her for what she did, and in the last 5 years she's been nothing but a good mom to my kid. What she did to me was ducked up and there were consequences for it. That doesn't make her even close to equal to my latest ex. First wife made a really stupid choice and regretted it. Second wife plotted against me, laughed at me, and never apologized for it. Circumstances matter. Tell her you were considering reconciliation until Chris sent you that letter. That it showed that reconciliation can never happen. Really screw Chris over in her eyes. I don't even know if that would do anything to her at all. I have all the usual notions, like I want to ask her why she did this to me and actually get a real honest answer, but that's only the emotional child in me screaming he wants answers to questions that don't even matter anymore. The STBXW, this was the same woman that shamelessly cheated, lied again and still waffles between he's my soulmate and he preyed on me when I was weak, right? The same STBX that admitted that your relationship was partly a smokescreen so she could be with the guy she cheated with because she couldn't be with him openly because her family would never accept him cause he is such a scumbag, right? The same STBXW that you caught sending and receiving texts from this guy, 2 of which stick out in particular. One was, well, we haven't seen each other in years and 20 minutes after I get off the plane I'm inside you. Another one was, go home and give your husband a huge, sloppy kiss. I've been in your mouth all day and I want to know you did that with me still on your tongue. This is the same soon-to-be ex, correct? Please keep the no contact at 100%. This woman has no morals and zero conscience. Glad to hear you are doing well, but for the love of all that is holy, do not get back with either woman. Your first ex seems better and seems supportive, even though she still cheated, and you guys will make good friends and co-parents. Leave it there. And leave the crazy STBX alone. You are doing the right thing. Are you under the impression that I'm having second thoughts about the STBXW? Because there is no way in hell reconciliation is even considered in her situation. I've slept with her twice since I found out and was keeping it secret, and both of those times I felt like peeling my skin off because I touched her. My son's mother, on the other hand, I'm not pursuing her at all, but I am keeping an open mind about things down the road. That's a non-issue, as I've got a lot of work to do on myself to find my new purpose. I guess I interpreted something you wrote as you saying there was a chance of reconciliation, but then you mentioned the North Carolina you had going for a while now. I just remember your story because your STBXW lied and did all these weird things with the Chris guy. Those two texts from him in particular stuck in my head. So yes, I'm happy for you that you have no intention of taking her back. Good for you. I was also saddened to hear about how this has affected your stepdaughter, but you seem to be handling it really well. It's clear you both love each other and she views you as a father. Your son's mom sounds like she is being a great source of support. I was just a bit concerned because in moments of vulnerability we can find ourselves back with someone we have no business getting back with. That doesn't mean you both can't have a great relationship and be great co-parents. Hell, do the FWB thing if you can keep it casual, just don't get married again. I'm glad to hear things have worked out as well as can be expected. Best of luck. My stepdaughter is always going to be my princess. I don't care what I've got to do, I will find ways to let her know she's loved. I feel so terrible for her too, and everyone else involved in this mess. My mother, an elderly woman who has never had a bad word to say about anyone, randomly told me when I was taking her grocery shopping, that if STBXW was here with us she'd strangle her. She was dead serious too. To see someone as kindly and sweet as my mom talk like this, it hurts. I couldn't FWB my ex-wife. I respect her way too much for that. And she wouldn't go for that either. More than that, I don't know if it was the cheating that did it or me getting married to another woman, but I kind of stopped seeing her as a sexual being. The affection and care I have for her now kind of feels like how you love a close family member. You, sir, have handled your business with great deft and tact. Looking after your relationship with your daughter, giving reasonable answers to your son's questions, rather than railing about your own problems. You have sallied forth with great stoic reserve into the maelstrom your STXW created. I wish you future joy, and a chance to allow your mind to completely heal from this affront to your peace. Be well. Well, I edited out all the shower crying, but other than that I think I kept my shit together. You did indeed. The flowery language was to pay homage to the enormity of what you have done and are doing. Good luck. Should be divorced by July and I cannot wait. Update. Hello again everyone, it's been about 6 months since my first post on here. If anyone's interested in reading stupidity and naivety, here is my original post. TLDR still seeing my stepdaughter, son is in therapy/counseling, enjoying a shadow of an old family life. In short, out of the blue one day my wife of 5 years claimed an ex-boyfriend she used to write with suddenly appeared again wanting to know if she could work on an old mutual project together. Well, as you might have guessed, she was having an affair that went back for quite a long time. Their dirty emails to each other disgusted me as they were extremely, almost intentionally hurtful. It wasn't bad enough for her to cheat on me, but he said he wanted her to go home and greet me filled with him, so to speak. I held my shit together for the kids for Christmas. She has a daughter and I have a son. I confronted her, threw her out and went as no contact as I possibly could. Harry P. Chris sent me a few messages after the fact claiming that I have no reason to be upset because in his eyes I stole her from him, and he'd been holding this one-sided grudge for the last 5 years and talked as if we had been enemies for quite some time. In short, my STBX's family never approved of him, so she dumped him. She went on to claim they were soulmates and that's why she couldn't turn him away. Well, I've been keeping my health, working out, continuing to work from home, but that'll be over soon. I've kept contact with my stepdaughter through her grandparents and her biological father, whom she also cheated on with this man. Though he's cheated on my STBX multiple times, he's an alright guy to have a beer with, and for all his faults he seems like a good dad. I see her twice a week now, never overnight, and even still I've kept her former room empty because it's too depressing to me to consider doing anything else with it. She's been my princess, and she's always excited when she comes to visit or I show up to take her to dinner or for bike rides. After a bit, my son has decided that he thinks he could benefit from therapy and has been seeing a doctor. His mother, my first wife, and I have been keeping a close eye on him as he was pretty close to his stepmother. She's tried to contact him and apologize, but he doesn't want to speak to her. He began getting impulsive and had bouts of angry outbursts unrelated to her, and it was then I asked him if he thought he might do well with therapy. He told me how betrayed he felt by what she'd done, that he hated her, he missed his stepsister, and he wanted everything to just be erased, and I really felt for him. I don't think we've talked heart to heart or hugged one another in our entire lives more than we have in the past few months. His mother has really been at my side through most of this, and we've gotten a lot closer too. At first she was inviting me over for dinner a couple days a week because she thought it was unhealthy for me to spend so much time alone in an empty house. I'm around steadily more now, and many nights a week we eat dinner like a family. My folks and her folks have both taken notice of this and have both been asking us whether or not, seeing as things are getting on so well, if we'd consider reconciling. We said we are both happy with things as they are, but knowing everyone is talking about us makes it difficult for us not to talk about it ourselves. Minus the physical affection, we're basically acting really similar toward one another like we did when we were married, which is comforting and warm, but that's soon going to get to a place where it needs a good long talk about. All that's been said thus far is that nothing is going to be attempted or even discussed until our son's life has normalized. These changes hurt him. As for my STBX and how things are going on that front, from what I've learned, she's just bought herself a condo and is moving on with her life. Her mother and father are deeply ashamed of what she's done, and in their words, my stepdaughter is frequently back talking to her mom. I'd like to report to you all that she's gravely suffering or is a weeping mess, but nope, STBX seems like she's off to go ruin another guy's life. I did however cross paths with Chris at a grocery store last month. He turned pale white and I pointed him out to my brother, which I shouldn't have done. He started following him around and shouting variations of ducking Prince Charming over here. Fat loser's gonna eat both those Red Barons tonight before he starts texting your wife, guys. I forced us to leave and will be shopping elsewhere, though I did get a good laugh out of it. Brother, you better buy your brother some Red Baron pizza because he's a damn king with that. I'm dying here. Ha 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 ha. Glad to hear your family is healing. You'll get through this, give it time. You stay there for your kids. Both of them. Good luck. That's a good brother right there. Duck that guy. Well, even if you didn't get to drive through his living room, you got to have a little fun. Does your son never go visit his stepsister? His mother and I arrange it so he can come along with us most of the time. They played stuff like Minecraft together. I feel so bad for them. At least if they were blood related they could stick together through this. Yeah, I hear you. Hopefully spending some time with her will help him get through this crap. Good luck to all of you. Maybe you and his mom can have some type of relationship that keeps you with him more. He's with me 3 days a week now and I'm over their house 1 to 2 times a week, so I'm almost seeing him every day now, which is the most positive thing that's come out of this. I don't understand now that everything's out in the open. Why can't she get back to this Chris guy if they are soulmates? She would find another guy and then cheat on him with that Chris guy again. Is that Chris guy completely broke? Is she trying to get as much as she can suck off other guys before permanently going back with Chris? I just never understood what goes through their mind. I suspect she loves this human trash can, but her father hates him, so no dice. Her father is an actual ship captain, or was rather. He's a good guy, but what he says is law. Chris rubbed him the wrong way for some reason and he's not quiet about it. Chris isn't broke, he owns a house at least, or he's renting it. Either way it's the decent part of town, so whatever it is ain't cheap. Why's still waiting for her dad's approval? Is she expecting some kind of inheritance from her dad? She ruined her relationships for this Chris guy. What was her dad's reaction? Her father casts a shadow. He's not abusive or anything, but he's very, things run how I say they run kind of guy. He is quite wealthy, but I don't think that's the reason she doesn't want to upset him. He's very vocal about what he doesn't like, so her dating a guy he didn't like, he'd have never gotten over it. In one of his crazy jealous letters, Chris said something like, "She picked me because I'm safe," and that she broke up with him because she had to put her toys away before daddy came home. All I want to say is that her father must have realized, very early on, that Chris is an open sociopathic narcissist and a manipulative prick. His daughter, having been raised by him, a very dominant father, has very bad decision-making skills coupled with a weak self-identity/worth. So she is probably incredibly easy for Chris to manipulate, and her father knew it from the beginning, probably because in some ways he was the same way with his family. As much as I think for her own sanity she needs to get away from Chris completely, he has focused on her a significant level of control. To what end I can only speculate, but it isn't going to be good for her mental health. Just as her early and formative relationship with her father has established her as an easy target for someone like Chris. Personally, I get along with her old man and I'd never let anyone control me, but you can feel it off him when he's around that he's a guy who likes things to have his kind of order and she is different around him. As for Chris being manipulative, I can't really say he is. He did weasel his way back into bed with her, but reading their back and forths, she's the one in control of everything. She was saying where they'd meet, and sometimes if he was talking himself up in comparison to me, she'd be brutally honest to the point where if a woman did this to me I'd be uninterested. Now that is interesting. I wonder if she has been doing this all these years to get back at her father for something he did or didn't do in the past. She knows her father intensely dislikes Chris, and keeps going back while saying the things she does to make her father suffer in some way. Do you know if her family, including her father, have been in a family therapy of some sort to deal with past issues? The one thing based on what you've said that stands out to me is the fact that he's a ship captain. Military or private? Well, either way, being out to sea for months at a time would have meant that he was going to miss a lot of birthdays and other milestones. As we all know, kids in that kind of situation can act out as a response to the absence. Then to have him come home and act as a disciplinarian, aka standard ship's captain, would create some deeply rooted issues she may not even be aware of. I'm sorry to have to say this, but I think you all might just be pawns in her subconscious game of tit for tat with her father. If that is true, then you need to get as far away from her as you can. That way she can't use you as a pawn anymore. And yeah, I agree, most people wouldn't want to have a relationship with someone who is abrasive and difficult. If Chris likes having this kind of hell around, then let him have it. Chris is stuck on her for whatever reason. His messages weren't all hateful, lewd. He talked a lot about running off with her, and he'd end his messages with "I love you" and all that, but she seldom did. From what little I cared to listen to her about her side, they were best friends before they got involved, and only got involved when they were both going through a divorce. He describes it as walking through hell together, and it's clear she used him to get through her trauma, but when he tried to make a wife out of her, it didn't work. If he wasn't personally vindictive and willfully evil toward me, I'd feel bad for him. Her dad was a private fishing industry captain and spent like 6 months away at a time, and I always got the vibe that she was daddy's girl because she's always a lot more toned down around him. Not a different person, but just the blandest form of herself. When we first started dating, she showed me all these pics of her in goth clothes looking like a punk chick, and that was really cool, so I figured that's who she was. But at a party I overheard her aunt and mother talking about her style and having to recolor her hair to a normal color because her dad was coming home. She pretended to be a punker when her father wasn't around. Did ex-Phil approve of you and your son? He and I got along well. One of his hobbies is pinstriping cars and I'd help him sand down the ones he was working on. As for my son, I think he was overjoyed to have a grandson in any capacity. He's taken my son to ball games and Disneyland with my stepdaughter to give the STBX and I a date night or some parenting days off. Isn't it also true that your stepdaughter and Chris, don't like each other? My stepdaughter was the main reason she gave for them not working out. She was very emotional because her parents had gotten divorced and a few months later this new weird guy essentially moved in. She threw a lot of fits because he was taking away time and attention from her mom. Mind you, she was either 5 or 6. He didn't know how to handle the situation and I guess became quick to anger. I got along with my stepdaughter because I decided when first introducing myself to her I'd bring my son with me, so it's not just a strange man coming over to see his mom, it's more like one of mom's friends and a potential friend coming over. And I made it a point to always bring her a little present or play games with her if she wanted to play board games and stuff. Sounds like you really know how to handle kids. When my first wife was pregnant, I threw myself into parenting books and sites, and psychology and all that stuff. That pregnancy was a surprise, but I did what I could to prepare myself. I wanted to be a good dad. As all dads should aspire to be. Seems like you put in a lot of effort. I know it's not fully your place, but have you ever suggested asking your stepdaughter's grandparents or father to get therapy? She will struggle the most in life with relationships due to the poor examples being set by both parents, and I feel for her realizing the life struggles ahead of her. You're the best example of stability she has and you barely get to spend much time with her. I suggested it to her dad and he was way ahead of me. My ex-W was extremely upset I would not just be friends with her when we were divorcing. In her mind this was just another day and I needed to just get over it. It took months to get her to stop writing me letters. I found in my situation with children she could care less if they had dinner or not or who was caring for them. She went on with her life like she didn't miss a beat. I think for years after that I really wanted to see her suffer. I could not believe how not only did she cheat all throughout our marriage, she rewrote our history to our friends and family, and I was labeled the abuser that drove her into the arms of other men. I had to cut most of the people out of my life and my children's lives in order to move past that. Time really is your only friend. In time you will think less and less about her and the fact she just is walking away from it. Focus more on yourself and your child. It's been 14 years for me and I could care less if I saw my ex-W broke down on the side of the street. To me she is a stranger, or as said in a song, someone I used to know. She really doesn't mean anything to me anymore. Your life will get better the more you invest in yourself. Rewriting history is one of the main reasons I took so much evidence of her affair. There were so many purposefully hateful things they said and did that no matter how much she decided to slander me, she'd walk away looking worse. Good thinking. Also, your brother is a true bro. My brother goes from zero to Tony Soprano in a heartbeat. He was going off. Nothing that could be called threatening legally, he was just obviously harassing Chris lol. He also said something like, go back to writing your little Dungeons and Dragons bullshit. Guy, you're in your 40s playing with wizards and shit. And I'm shocked this is happening, like, haha funny, but I've gotten this far in my life without a Walmart parking lot fist fight, so let's just go. No, but your brother put that asshole in his place. There are consequences for actions, and that is merely ones he, AP, needed to have. I'd continue to shop there just so you can overbear on his life and cast a long shadow. You're a far better man than he, and he knows it. Just by appearing in his path from time to time will rub his face in what a good man looks like and acts. Having your brother along to smear shit in his face from time to time is merely a bonus. Duck it, I'm always shopping there now. Thanks for the comment. I really ought to talk my shit too. I think I've been way too civil about all this. Yeah, you have. But I understand why you were civil while the process was ongoing. You don't have to be a nice guy now, rub his face in shite every chance you get now. The best part is she's not with him now. That you should point out every chance you get. He's only good as a side piece, not a main event. I don't really think I can really make fun of him for anything. I could call him nothing but a side piece, but all he needs to say is yes so are you, and it doesn't work. I'll figure something out. You are not the side piece. You don't marry the side piece. Chris has to deal with being the side piece in 2 marriages and she still didn't marry him. On some level that has to cut deep. I don't know, I think he's the sick sort of person that might enjoy the fact that he lured her away from 2 different men that are his betters. Moving on was easier for her because there's an empty space inside her where a soul should be. She will repeat this behavior in her next relationship. She has shown herself to be a serial cheater. She's not going to stop. Like I said, on to ruin another man's life. Update: somewhat just digging around on an old laptop and came across this gem of conversation. Update: I've changed the names. But here is basically a cut and paste version of how deceitful these 2 were. My original story is here. Ex-wife. I'm not sure if I'm being paranoid, but I feel like my husband is growing suspicious. I don't know what I should do. I'm trying to act normal, but I'm really starting to worry. I'm probably just paranoid. He's not tracking my phone or computer or anything. He does try to look over my shoulder or take peeks at my screen though. I don't stop him when he does. 1:20, 1:59 p.m. X. All the times he has peeked we weren't talking about anything worth suspicion. Chris. 1:20, 2:03 p.m. I think the best way to go about this is to not change your routine. If you get any more distant he might catch on, but if you become too friendly the same logic applies. If you could do anything I would say perhaps talk about the story in a complete professional way and exclude me from it when you do. So it will seem more like a business-friendly relationship rather than an old boyfriend. But I don't know him. I've met him that one time. Usually I have the honor of sizing up the other half's mental capacity, but I'm flying blind with this and completely trusting you. I say you remain exactly as you are, no change in routine unless you think the book suggestion works. My ex. 1:20, 2:04 p.m. Okay, that's exactly what I was thinking. Good. He can be a genius or a complete idiot. And he is very reserved, so sometimes his body language is hard to read. But yes, I need to start talking about the book, because I think he's wondering why I'm on here all the time with you. I haven't mentioned the book at all. Chris. 1:20, 2:07 p.m. Make an offhand remark. Oh, he's goddamn whining about his boyfriend again. He needs to leave the prick, lol. I know he lives in Wisconsin. Stop whining about it, lol. My ex. 1:20, 2:07 p.m. No, he thinks you're still married and have a son. And you're one of my old writing friends. That's pretty much all I've said about you aside from our fling at the end of her ex-husband's name. Chris. 1:20, 2:10 p.m. Okay, well, if you have to or the subject gets brought up, think of some small romantic cheesy gesture I just did for my wife and I say I look like a sissy for it, lol. The best way I'm not a threat is if my family and yours are somewhat relatable. The more domestic I appear the better. My ex. 1:20, 2:14 p.m. Yeah, I agree, but I don't want to start talking about you a lot either. I haven't in the past. Why should I now? If he asks, I'll make up stuff on the fly. Chris. 1:20, 2:14 p.m. Exactly. My ex. 1:20, 2:14 p.m. I think I'll start getting excited about the book now. That way if I seem giddy or stressed I can use that as an excuse. Chris. 1:20, 2:15 p.m. When you do, mention my wife is doing concept art for it and that's one of the reasons it excites you. It is not a stretch, it establishes I am domestic and that she is well aware of my activity, and if she's not worried, why should he be? My ex. 1:20, 2:17 p.m. Yeah, I see that. Okay, I can handle this. It's probably all in my own head anyways. Chris. 1:20, 2:19 p.m. Yes, it probably is. If an accusation comes at all, just have something ready like, no, oh my god, he's married and he's retardedly obsessed with his wife. He was telling me all his pet names and I almost signed off, lol. My ex. 1:20, 2:19 p.m. Lol, okay. Chris. 1:20, 2:21 p.m. Sorry, I have a lot of ready-made plots. The Smurf is usually checking my phone, there's nothing. My ex. 1:20, 2:21 p.m. We're not new at this. Chris. 1:20, 2:22 p.m. Well, it won't be nearly as complicated, seeing as any change in your behavior will be only momentary. My ex. 1:20, 2:23 p.m. True, I think I can do this. Chris. 1:20, 2:23 p.m. You'll be fine, we've done it before. My ex. 1:20, 2:23 p.m. No, I know I can do this. Chris. 1:20, 2:24 p.m. You've got it. My ex. 1:20, 2:24 p.m. In my obsessive-compulsive nature, it is taking like everything in me to not make a list of things to do before our adventure, lol. I usually hide all my flaws, but now you get to see and hear about all of them, lol, you poor thing. You must think him neurotic. Chris. 1:20, 2:28 p.m. I like seeing this side of you. I don't think you're neurotic, but the paranoia, the planning, your excitement makes me feel good that I can still excite you this much. My ex. 1:20, 2:29 p.m. For your sake, I'll let you take credit for most of that then. I'm paranoid without reason also, but you've most certainly elevated it to a new level. I'm gonna be real honest, computer forensics was my favorite class at school. I always had a good time getting data bit by bit and figuring out what it was. That being said, I'm an IT security consultant now. People really don't know how much data they are leaving around on their devices, and no, running a magnet over the hard drive won't work anymore. It is truly disturbing to see what people will talk about while they are betraying another, whether it be a corporate thing or a personal thing. If you can talk yourself into it, there's not a lot of things you won't do. Shitty you had to see the exact level of depravity your partner stooped to this much later. I mean, I read other conversations between them, but this one sounds like the earliest of them. Yeah, plotting it out and bragging about it. Fucking scummy. Sorry you had to deal with that level of garbage. Hopefully you're in an at-fault state and can use this for protection. I live in California, you're basically rewarded for being a degenerate here. Sorry 2x then. You couldn't drag me to California. Not saying my state is perfect, because it's not, but eesh. California, if it wasn't for the beach sunsets and my son, I'd have been gone a decade. It's been a year since D-Day. There's been kidnapping, assault, and hospitalisation since my last post. Update original post here, TLDR at bottom. I have 2 ex-wives. To avoid confusion, I will be referring to my latest ex-wife as ex-wife and my first ex-wife as my son's mother. This week a year ago, I was sitting around trying to process my ex-wife telling me about her ex, Chris, approaching her with aspirations of writing a book based on their previous work together. It was an obvious front to further their ongoing affair, and I was so stupid not to see it. Anyhow, I confronted her and threw her out, and she went to live with her parents, taking her stepdaughter with her. I maintain contact with my stepdaughter for quite some time and still do make time for her, but she's had it worse than anyone. I guess I'll give an update to that first. My stepdaughter was essentially kidnapped by her biological father sometime after my last update. I've said it before, but her father is not from my country and has citizenship from the country he came from. Every couple of years he would take his daughter to his country to see his family, but this time he refused to send her back home. His given reason was that our mutual ex-wife was poisonous and he wanted his daughter away from her. In the end he shot himself in the foot on that front because 2 months later he caved to pressure from his own family and sent her back, and is not returning because he'll most likely be arrested if he returns to the States, so he removed himself as a good influence in her life and left her in the hands of someone we both consider poison. Things did not get better from there on my ex's side of things. Shortly after the divorce was finalized but before her ex-husband ran off with the child, she had begun dating a new man. I was unaware of this until my former in-laws contacted me to say that she'd been hospitalized. She and Chris, her affair partner, had, as many guessed, began sleeping together again, and from what former Mill told me, she broke it off with him again to pursue a new man. Chris took her to a Motel 6 where he sprung it on her that he was sick of being treated how he was treated. When she tried to walk back to her car, he snapped, picked her up over his head and slammed her down on the concrete parking lot. He attacked and drove off a good Samaritan before stomping on one of her hands and then choking her so hard she had dark purple bruises and a fractured vertebrae in her neck. Thankfully he's behind bars now and is facing a slew of assault charges and perhaps even attempted murder, but I've not followed up on the legal aspects of any of it. She is in physical therapy and in recovery as she was also concussed in the assault and is pretty hazy a lot of the time. No matter what she did to me, seeing her in this condition breaks my heart. My stepdaughter spends a lot of time with me these days as I am trying to do what I can to help the situation. She is understandably not in the best spirits, but spending time with my son's mother, and I at least gives her a solid place to stand. That just leaves my first wife, my son's mother. A lot of people have expressed a desire to see us reconcile, and in many ways we have. Neither of us is pushing the other back into a relationship, but we have discussed our past, the infidelity that separated us, and the fact that she has been forgiven by me. We aren't officially back together, but it isn't uncommon for us to spend the night at each other's place, and as we speak it's been 5 days since we've slept in different houses. We sleep separately as I'm sure this all confuses my son, but we've been intimate regularly for over a month now. It's going nice and easy, nobody is pushing for anything more than what we have, and for the moment it's working out. I could go on for many more paragraphs but I think I'll wrap up this update and answer questions as they come. TLDR: Chris assaulted my ex-wife and put her in the hospital. Stepdaughter's biological father kidnapped her briefly. My son's mother and I are a pseudo couple. Honestly, do what works for you. The folks on Reddit and say what they want. Honestly, do it works for you. You seem to be getting along with your son's mother and go with the flow, riding the wave. Go ahead and do that works for you. That's pretty much how I am handling things. Good. As I predicted exactly, comment made on your previous thread, that your ex-wife keeps Chris around like a pet. He is also a victim to your poison of an ex-wife. Only this time the pet became unruly and attacked his abusive owner. He didn't look like the kind to be body slamming people in parking lots. He did what he did, but my ex is determined to ruin lives. Karma was me throwing her out of her home and her reputation getting dragged through the mud on the account of the affair. What Chris did to her wasn't karma, that's just an abusive psychopath right there. Don't know why someone downvoted that. What my exes did was totally worthy of a suplex, doesn't mean that ducking a woman up is okay. I never once raised my hands to either of them. It's not okay to go all Hulk smash on people you are much stronger than. Whoever did that, seek help. I can outright hurt people. I have. It's not something that makes me feel better. Was Chris the only abusive one? Imagine dragging someone emotionally for years and always throwing them away. Oh, no doubt she emotionally and mentally broke him. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Please comment, like and subscribe. Cheers. Have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are.